On Friday, a brief window opened in the Strait of Hormuz. 6 massive cargo ships, trapped for weeks, decided to make a run for it. 4 of these vessels went completely dark. They cut their transponders to hide from Iranian radar and slipped safely into the Arabian Sea. But the MSC Francesca and the Greek-owned Epaminondas failed to escape. They were intercepted just miles off the coast of Iran. The UK Maritime Trade Operations Centre reported a violent ambush. Iranian Revolutionary Guard gunboats approached the ships and opened direct fire without warning, causing heavy damage to the bridge of the Epaminondas. A third ship, the Euphoria, was also targeted. Iranian forces then seized the damaged vessels, towing them into national waters for what the regime called a cargo inspection. The Revolutionary Guard orchestrated a military ambush, striking specific vessels to sever a global trade artery. The targeted ships belonged to MSC, a logistics giant that handles 1 out of every 5 goods moved by sea across the planet. At its narrowest point, the Strait of Hormuz is only 21 miles wide, yet through this tiny gap flows the highest volume of oil shipping in the world. Since the attacks, commercial traffic has stopped for all but a handful of ships, effectively closing the corridor to the global fleet. This reduction in traffic turns the 21-mile gap into an economic bottleneck, marking the most severe crisis the region has known since the 1990 invasion of Kuwait. To understand why these ships were targeted, you have to look at the conflicting political maneuvers happening behind the scenes. President Donald Trump recently announced an extension of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. However, he is also maintaining a naval blockade on all Iranian ports. This blockade is a form of economic warfare. It is designed to drain Iran of $500 million every single day, attempting to starve the regime into a negotiation. But the diplomatic strategy has stalled. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance failed to depart for the expected peace talks in Pakistan this week. Iran views the ceasefire extension as a delay tactic for a future U.S. strike. In response, they are using the Strait of Hormuz to blockade the West, mirroring the American pressure on their own harbors. The deadlock has left both superpowers with fewer diplomatic options, as each side attempts to choke the other's economy into submission. But why would Iran invite a military confrontation with the U.S. while its economy is already bleeding $500 million a day? The regime is currently fighting a war on 2 fronts. Following massive national-wide protests in January, authorities are terrified of a new uprising at home. In recent weeks, the judiciary has executed at least 14 people. The victims included protesters and those accused of spying for Israel, as the government moves to eliminate any perceived internal threats. Militia commanders have appeared on state television to explicitly link these domestic dissenters to foreign enemies, warning that any protest will be treated as an act of war. These naval ambushes are a desperate project of strength for a regime in crisis. By attacking foreign ships, they are attempting to project power to their own citizens and prove they can still strike back against the world. Even if you are thousands of miles from the Gulf, the consequences of this naval standoff are likely already showing up in your bank account. This graph shows a sudden 3.3% spike in UK inflation for March. The data proves that the surge was driven almost entirely by the rising cost of oil and gas. The Chancellor warned that the instability in the Strait is driving fuel prices higher, effectively passing the costs of the conflict onto every driver in the country. This is just the first wave. As the cost of maritime shipping remains elevated, those price increases will eventually filter down to supermarket shelves, hitting food prices in the months to come. While the diplomats observe a technical ceasefire, the financial impact remains very real for citizens paying the price at the pump and the checkout counter. For now, the world is stuck in a dangerous state of limbo. Iran will not negotiate while their ports are blockaded, and the U.S. will not lift that blockade without a deal. With zero trust between either side, this ceasefire isn't being used to build peace. Both nations are using the time to prepare for the next round of escalation. The Strait of Hormuz is no longer a trade route. It has become a military tripwire, stretched to the point where any single incident could snap the remaining peace. Every ship that enters these waters now rolls the dice on a regional war, leaving the global economy trapped in a 21-mile bottleneck.